I ran our Forerunner into a pile of manure, a very big
That was
pile.
like 20 feet tall.
Which we called
Poop Mountain.
Poop Mountain.
But in
She
my
ran it
defense-
into Poop
in my
Mountain.
defense, I was like 4.
Alright, so what are we talking about?
All right, good afternoon. This is the episode 7 of Keeping Up with the Dyers, and in this episode, we are going to talk about Fort Carson, Colorado. All right, so to recap, we were just coming from Fort Rucker, where we have spent the last 2.5 years-ish.
Yep.
So from June 2009 until we left in January of 2012.
12. Yep.
So I left Fort Rucker, I cleared housing, went up to Ohio where Bernadette and the kids were for just like, they left like a week ahead of me or something like that, just to visit folks and whatnot
Celebrate Christmas.
and celebrate Christmas. We took off from Ohio and drove across I-70, but like we said, it was the middle of winter.
And we had the horses.
And we had the horses and the dogs and a full trailer. In Kansas, we blew a tire.
Yep, 2 horses and 2 dogs, and I think it was 2 below, and it was 2 o'clock in the morning, as a matter of fact.
Yeah.
There's a lot of 2s.
Blew a tire, and how we got there, that is a story in itself. We were supposed to stop. We had mapped out along the way. There's this website where you can go that has horse hotels. And basically the premise of it is they can board your horse and they can keep you as well. They have a place where folks can stay and their horses can stay.
Yeah.
We made it through Illinois just fine. Found a place there that we actually went back to when we moved back from Colorado. So that was good, and we were supposed to stop in Kansas, and I called multiple times and they said, no, you're good, we understand you're gonna be in late. And then the last time I called, we're about an hour away still, hour and a half away still.
And it was going to be
And
like 10,
so this
30 at
time,
night or something.
yeah, it was gonna be late. And the guy answered the phone just like, nah,
Never mind.
we don't really wanna wait up for you, so you can't stay here tonight. We're like, you gotta be kidding me, so.
But we got 2
I
horses, 2
typically-
dogs, and 2
yeah.
kids. What are we going to do?
Yeah.
Or 3 kids.
3 kids.
Yeah.
3 kids. So I typically get upset when stuff like that happens, and it gives me resolve. So
To stay awake for hours.
I was like, fine, I'll just drive straight through.
We're going
Straight
to Colorado
through,
tonight.
all the way from Illinois to Colorado tonight. No matter how long it takes, we're getting there. Well, that's not how it happened because we blew a tire, and I put the spare on, but I wasn't about to keep traveling with no spare, and so far to go. Because we
And it
weren't
was
even into
so-
Colorado yet.
And it was so cold and it was starting to snow.
Yeah.
And
Well,
we-
it had been snowing.
Yeah.
The roads were
The roads
kind of
were getting
icy,
bad.
and yeah, it
And-
wasn't good.
Yeah, and we had been living in
So
South
cold.
Alabama, and
So
so,
cold.
had the horses, and so had the dogs, so nothing was acclimated to that cold.
Yeah.
So anyway, it was
So we wound up staying in Hays, Kansas, Hays-Russell area in Kansas. Got a hotel room for the rest of that night, which was only a few hours for me.
Yeah.
I got up as soon as the tire places were open the next day. We got the tire fixed.
Yeah.
We hit the road. I got to, Colorado. We had never been to Colorado before.
Never seen the Rocky Mountains.
We had
in
never
person.
seen where we were gonna live.
Yeah.
I signed all the lease agreement before we
Online.
got there,
Sight
and
unseen.
so yeah, that kind of opens us up to okay, where did we live? I'll let you explain because I kind of talked a lot. Where did we live?
So we lived outside of Colorado Springs, which is where Fort Carson is. And Colorado Springs is funny because it's like 25 miles long and like literally 2 miles wide or something like that. Because the mountain range is there, and then if you go too far to the east, it's just like high desert, nothing. So when you move to Fort Carson, you're really close to the mountains because everything is, but there's like a long stretch of where you could possibly be. So we went south of Fort Carson. The town south is Fountain, and we went just even south of that a little bit, not quite to Pueblo, which is the next town. We were at a little ranch that was like 85 acres that had some homes that you could live in, and then it had lots of options for boarding horses. And we pulled in. It was night, wasn't it? It was late.
So the point being with that was this is the first time
That we've
we had
seen this
ever
place.
lived off post.
Yes, we had not lived off post before. This time we're living off post, and like Avery had mentioned last time, our friends took our stuff for us, and we were like, we had never seen this place. We just agreed to it, online, which I wouldn't highly recommend doing because people are weird and you never know. But so
We don't take that advice.
yeah, we
We'll
yeah.
learn more about that later.
Yeah, but our friends went before us and took our stuff, and then they are such good friends, they didn't even stay and wait for us. They're like, no, we're just having a great time. They unloaded all of our stuff out of their trailer, took it into our house, and sent us pictures of the house because we had never seen it. We're like, oh my goodness, this is so nice. And they're like, you have brand new flooring in your house. That's really nice. And so, and they took our stuff in and they said the boxes were labeled. So kids' bedrooms went into the kids' bedrooms, our bedroom. Super sweet people who just loved us so well. And so we get there and we pull in, and it's a beautiful ranch, 85 acres with pastures, this pasture horses and that pasture horses. The main ranch house, beautiful. They had a riding arena. They had cows there. Yeah. They had a really nice riding arena that you see as you pull in. They had cows there because they did lots of ranch sorting type stuff.
So there was a lot of things that I appreciated and thought was nice about this place. I kind of gave a spoiler in the last video, and I'll let Bernadette touch on kind of our gateway drug into homesteading because it's probably funny from her perspective. But I'll talk a little bit more about the horses. So I said in the last video for Fort Rucker, I did a lot of riding and I learned a lot there. And this was kind of just a carryover from that. Like we said, this is the first place we lived off post. It was an 85-acre ranch, but it wasn't just the ranch. Like there was nothing but wide open space out the back of the ranch. No fences or anything from the ranch to Cheyenne Mountain. Like there was nothing but sequoia and the tumbleweeds. Yeah.
Which we had never seen before. That was so exciting to us.
We
to
saw
actually see
tumbleweeds and we're like, whoa, we're in the West.
Yeah. And the kids rode too.
Yep. Maddie got to ride, made a friend. There was a cutting horse trainer who lived on the ranch, ran his business from the ranch. He taught me how to trim and shoe a horse, and he actually let me do it while he watched. And I haven't done it since because I learned that is hard work. Like, you think just bent over, messing with a horse's foot would not be hard work, but you will learn about muscles in your back and in your upper legs that you did not even know existed when you do that for
Repeatedly.
just an hour.
Yeah.
Like, it won't take long and it'll hurt. And it was just so good for the first time since being in the Army to have our horses with us.
Yep.
Because Maddie and Amazra and really all of us could just walk from our little trailer down the lane to the pasture that they were in most of the time.
Yep.
So that's the horses. Now we'll get into the gateway drug I was referring to in episode 5.
Yes, this kind of goes back to impulse purchases, but I think it was pretty well an impulse purchase on Avery's behalf. Apparently we're chicken impulse purchasers because he calls me coming home he was at TSC, probably had to get something for the horses.
It's called Big R there. They don't have Tractor Supplies there.
You're right.
They're called Big R.
Big R. And that's an amazing store if you're out west and your kids need cowboy boots, go to Big R. But, so Avery went to Big R to get something for the horses, or maybe cowboy boots, I have no idea. And he comes home and he calls me on the way home and says something to the effect of, have all the kids meet me outside. I got them something at Big R. And I'm, okay, sure. So we come outside and the box he has chirps. And is filled with these adorable little yellow fluff balls. And how many did you get? 12?
Oh no.
10?
Maybe.
Came home with a bunch of chickens. Little
Chicks.
cute baby chicks that are like maybe 2 or 3 days old, so they're still yellow and fluffy and adorable.
Other than the gardening that we'd done at our previous stops, this was the first time, and the horses that we had, this was the first time that we'd gotten into a farm type animal that gave you something for your labor.
Exactly.
We learned that from a chick, you know, to the point where you actually have an egg. Bernadette has discussed this
Yeah.
before in previous videos. It may not sound like 20 weeks is a long time,
Right?
but when you're waiting for something to start producing something, it feels like
Yeah.
it takes forever
Right?
to get that first egg, and then that first egg is like this big.
Yeah. Yeah. But we had a lot of joy and delight in raising the chickens. Like the kids would. I remember specifically at Mazra, because she's like 3 at this point. She's picking up chickens and putting them in a bucket and carrying them around, and we're like taking pictures. We're those weird chicken people. Taking pictures of her with her bucket of chicken, and you know they're sitting
Her
out.
bucket of chicken.
It was, yeah. And they're sitting out.
Right.
They would set up little bits of like a dog crate that they set on its side so that they could let the chickens free range and they could be loose outside but be safe, because there really were coyotes and stuff there. And they would sit out and pet them, and we probably had like super docile chickens. The chickens would like sit down so that our kids could pick them up because we spent so much time. We learned that some chickens will not be contained no matter what you do. So you can clip a chicken's wings kind of like you would clip fingernails, and that like lessens their ability to fly. And our fence was pretty tall. It was like 6 feet. I think it was, you know, above our heads. But we had one chicken who got a name because she was so unique. She was Rogie Red, and she loved to leave our little safe chicken enclosure and go next door and sit on the back of a stud horse that was there and eat the flies or whatever she was doing on Turbo's back.
That horse would just stand there and let that chicken perch on its rump.
Yep.
It was hilarious.
They had, yeah, a symbiotic relationship. She went, she ate the flies, and he gave her relief from being with the other chickens. We also had a garden there, and again.
So I want to talk about this.
Okay.
I want to talk about this because before we get into what we loved, this is a funny story. So we tried to do a garden there. We did get a few things to sprout. It wasn't like a very successful garden, but what we did get to sprout, this is the funny story. We started losing to rabbits. I was like, oh no, this is not going to happen. Like, we are not going to work this hard to try to get something to grow in this arid climate and then lose it to these rabbits.
Yeah.
So I got a pellet gun and I shot at least 2 rabbits. we
had
would
rabbits
not
too.
waste them. We did
No.
not want to waste them. Just, you know, fully embracing the concept that, you know, if we're going to kill these things, then they're going to be productive for something. So
right.
we skinned them and we made them into a stew.
Yep.
And it was a good stew.
It was.
The kids liked it. Like they were there for the whole process.
That's right.
They watched me skin it.
Fascinated. It was
yeah,
like
fascinated.
a biology lesson,
Uh,
and yeah, they loved it.
Yep, and we made it to a stew, and it was so good. We're like, you know, we need to share this
Take it to Rick and
with our
Sandy.
landlords.
Yeah,
So I think we put it in like a mason jar
Yeah.
or something,
I'm sure we did.
and we take it up and we give it to our landlords, and we tell them the story of what it was, and it's just so comical because
Sandy's-
they were gracious,
Yeah.
but the wife very kindly. She somehow brought up the fact of how she just loved watching the rabbits hop around the property. So it was kind of like it was a kind of a weird exchange of, hey, we brought you soup made out of those furry little creatures that you love watching hop around the ranch that are no longer existing because they were eating our corn.
Yeah. Sorry, Sandy.
So funny story.
Yeah.
Yep. Sorry, Sandy.
They ate the stew though.
yeah, I
Like,
think
they
they
weren't
ate the
that
stew.
opposed to it or anything, but yeah.
She wasn't like super upset with us, but
Yeah.
it was comical because she made a point to tell us, you know,
You shot my bunny?
you shot my bunnies. Oh no, I love watching the bunnies.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, funny story. Let's get into what we loved.
Okay. We loved the public library out there.
Yeah, it was I think it was our first exposure. Like a lot of libraries do this now, and they may have done it when we were younger too, but I think this was our first real experience with it. They have the network of libraries.
Yes, yeah. So
And
that you
so-
could interlibrary
So
loans
yeah,
and
exactly.
stuff. Yeah.
Like I don't think we were really familiar with that prior to
No.
getting there.
Mhm.
So it was nice because it wasn't just the books that, you know,
You see on
the
the
library
shelf.
that was
Yeah.
closest to us had. We had access to
Lots of libraries.
lots of books
Yeah.
from the network of libraries that they had there. Love when a Mazda ran into Poop Mountain.
Yeah, Mazda ran into poop. We had a lot of fun on the ranch. They was so open, and so like we could let the kids drive our 4Runner, and a Mazda did.
Yeah, like the SUV, like she drove it right into the big manure pile, which I let her. Like we were at no risk. But another thing that we loved, similar I guess to Fort Knox, and I mean really everywhere we've been,
Yeah.
is the community we found.
Yep.
It took us a while to find a church there. We visited a few,
Did.
but the church that we settled on wound up. And there's actually going to be another episode where we get into this because our Fort Carson story is sort of different from the others because I actually deployed from Fort Carson. And when I deployed, Bernadette and the kids were only there for 8 months.
Yep.
And then we moved them back to Ohio, bought a farm in Ohio, because we had kind of anticipated that I would get out when I got back from deployment, and we would start, our farm and our
Right.
ministry in Ohio.
Yep.
But so I say that because the church family that we found there just had a huge impact.
Yep.
Specifically,
On Avery.
yeah, specifically on me because I was there longer than they were.
Yep.
But we will get into that in the Ohio video because there's kind of like what went on in Ohio, and there's kind of a little bit, I'll get into a little bit of what went on with me while I was separated from the family geographically. So that's kind of what we loved. And then how we left it,
We sold the chickens
Yeah.
and the coop that Avery built to
Yeah,
somebody else
yeah,
who
yeah.
was really excited.
Package
Their-
deal.
It was a package deal. And to somebody else who was super excited, their wife had really wanted chickens, but that 20-week wait, they were more wise than us and they realized how
Yep.
long that was. And
I bought that coop I built and everything.
yeah, he did. We left someone else with the chickens.
Yep.
We learned a ton of stuff. Our house, we just left it. I don't know.
Yep, we left the garden. I think the folks that lived beside us, or wound up living beside us,
Yeah, the
she
next
kind of took
family.
over our garden
Yep.
because we weren't going to be there to do it. And I think that they actually were able to get
They yielded
a little bit of a
fruit.
harvest
Yeah.
out of it. So that's
Those
good.
rabbits were gone, so you know.
So yeah, this is like, this is the first place where we got some eggs.
Yep.
We left it a little greener than it was
Yep, for sure.
when we got there. That's kind of our thing. We say the Dyers leaving greener dots on the map since 2003 because that's when we got married. And that was really, one of the first places where that is definitely true of.
Yep.
We improved the soil to a small degree in that
our
little
very
space.
small backyard. Yep.
So that is how we left it. So we learned about chickens. If that was lost, I think we
Yeah.
kind of got into the story, but we learned more about horsemanship and we
Yeah.
learned about chickens because that was the first place that we've had chickens.
With hands-on experience.
Yep. So that kind of concludes this video. Like, subscribe, notification bell so that you know when we're posting a new video. Share this on your social media page. Maybe somebody else will like it. And you all have
A blessed day.